Before we dive into today's episode, I want to share with you that the doors to my 10-week program, Panic to Peace, are open. Over the course of the program, I'll guide you and support you in creating a healthy relationship with anxiety so that the anxious thoughts, physical symptoms, panic attacks, and fear no longer run your life or make the decisions for you. Instead of constantly managing or fighting anxiety, you'll learn how to respond to it in a way that creates more calm, confidence, and freedom. If this feels like the year you're ready to reclaim your life and stop letting anxiety call the shots, I want you to head to the link in the show notes and join now. I'm Shannon Ireland, your host of a Healthy Push podcast. I struggled with anxiety, panic disorder, and agoraphobia for 15 years. Everything used to be hard for me. Even just driving 5 minutes from my house used to feel impossible. But now I absolutely live for travel and adventure, and I experience lots of peace and joy. I've not only reclaimed my life, but I've helped hundreds of others to do the same. Here, we stop managing anxiety and instead we create a healthy relationship with it. One where you say goodbye to the anxious thoughts, symptoms, panic attacks, and fears, and you actually live your life. Forget complicated strategies, quick fixes, or the same old hacks you've heard 100 times before. Each week, I'll bring you simple, actionable advice and honest conversations that lead to real, long-term healing. You aren't just an anxious person, my friend. There are reasons why you're struggling with anxiety, and these are things you can fix and heal from. And this is where that journey begins. Welcome. You're right where you're meant to be. Hello, and welcome back to a Healthy Push podcast. So today, I really just want to sit down with you and have a very gentle conversation. No real agenda, no teaching, just a human to human check in. Things feel incredibly hard right now. And if you're someone like me who is sensitive, empathetic, more anxiety leaning, and deeply impacted by what's happening in the world, you might be feeling especially overwhelmed. So, before anything else, I want to say this clearly. If you're feeling really anxious, heavy, frozen, distracted, or emotionally exhausted, it makes sense. There's nothing wrong with you. What's happening in the world right now is not okay. And it's deeply terrifying. And the truth is, we're not designed as humans to take on this much all at once, this much chaos, this much information, this much uncertainty, this much pain and fear, and just utter confusion. Our nervous systems weren't built for this pace and this intensity and this chaos that we're living inside of right now. And when things don't make sense, our brains, all of our brains, work overtime trying to find certainty or safety. So if your system feels a bit dysregulated right now, or really dysregulated right now, that's not weakness. That's biology, okay? And I also want to say this because I know many of you need to hear it. If you've been feeling more anxious lately and you found yourself leaning into some old coping mechanisms, like things that you thought that you got away from, things that you're proud of yourself for getting away from, it is okay. It's actually really to be expected to lean into some old coping mechanisms or just coping mechanisms in general. And if you've been telling yourself that because anxiety has been increased or panic has shown up more, or you've, like I said, gone back to things that you thought you were past, that it means you're going backwards or your recovery is slipping, I want you to hear me very clearly. That is not what's happening. In times of stress and uncertainty, our nervous systems naturally reach for familiarity and protection. And doing so does not erase your progress and it doesn't undo your healing. It just means your system is doing what it's designed to do and it's responding. It's responding to a lot. And it's not failure, it's not regression, okay? This is a nervous system doing its best in a really hard freaking moment. Okay, so I wanted to sit down and just give you a sense of how I'm supporting myself because I know that these things have really helped me. Not to say I'm in the best place because I don't think, honestly, any of us can be, even if you are really aware, really in tune, really taking care of yourself. Like things are just so freaking hard. But I wanted to sit down with you and just share things that I'm doing to support myself because I hope that these things can support you too. And I'm not really here to give like quote fixes or like silver linings, but I just want to share some things personally that I'm doing to support myself in case that they help you. So take what feels supportive and just leave the rest. So, the first one, the biggest thing, and I learned this in my recovery, and I come back to this literally on a daily basis. I am letting myself feel without fixing. This is one of the biggest things I'm practicing because I know how helpful and how valuable it is, especially in times like this. I'm really just trying my best to allow myself to feel whatever is there without trying to fix anything, without trying to make sense of anything, without trying to calm myself or reframe it or make it productive. Like, I'm just trying to let myself feel as best I can because we know this. Feelings don't require solutions, they really just require space. And when we don't try so hard to fight our emotions and we just let them exist, they often move much more gently than when we push up against them and try to resist them, right? So you might be like me, having a ton of feelings. And I know it's so tricky because you want to maybe feel better. You want to get rid of the feelings, you want to make sense of them. But feelings are really meant to just be felt. So doing your best just to allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling right now and really to do it without such harshness or judgment or resistance, right? Like we are human. There's so many feelings right now. Whatever you're feeling, they make sense. Okay, the next one is something that I do or try to do consistently, but especially in times like this. I am being incredibly mindful of what I'm consuming. I am paying very close attention to how much I'm consuming on the news, on social media, just in conversations, in group chats. There is so much out there for consumption, especially relating to all the really hard stuff that's happening right now. And what we take in directly affects our nervous system. So, if you're somebody who's already struggling with a lot of anxiety, your system's already very sensitized, you feel like you experience a lot of the sensations and symptoms and panic and fear on a pretty frequent basis, things like information overload can just tip your system even more. So, you have to be very cautious of what you're taking in and how much you're taking in. And I just want to say this and give you this permission. It's okay to limit exposure when you notice your anxiety ramping up. This is not avoidance, it's discernment. Like, I can't just sit there and take in all of the information, all of the media, and not notice that it's massively affecting me and not slow down and have that moment where I say, okay, Shannon, like, you've got to step away from this. And yes, we need to be informed, right? We need to be aware, but we also need to slow down, pause, recognize how much we're taking in and how it's making us feel, and put up some boundaries and really stick to them. Because if you are just consuming and doing the doom scrolling and all the things, it is really going to affect your ability to function. And right now, we need as much capacity as possible. So please, please be very mindful of what you're consuming and how much you're consuming. And boundaries are incredibly helpful. Okay, the next one, and is one that people might often not think of, but I learned this again in my recovery, and I come back to it time and time again because it's so helpful. So I am really leaning on routine, even when I don't feel like it. So routine is incredibly powerful, especially in uncertain times. So even when my motivation is really low, and I don't really wanna stick to my routines. I don't really wanna do the things that I normally do. I don't really wanna cook. I don't really wanna go for the walks. I don't really wanna dig into my work. I don't really wanna stick to the bedtime routines. I have to remind myself this is the stuff that helps my brain to feel more safe and my body to feel more grounded. Like familiarity and predictability are things that our brains love and need. And so when there is so much chaos and so much uncertainty going on, if you get away from what is familiar to your brain, if you get away from your routines, it's going to cause even more disruption, even more anxiety, even more stress and overwhelm, all the things, right? So even though you might not have all the motivation in the world, try to stick to some of your routines. It is incredibly helpful. Okay, the next one is I am staying connected to people who feel regulating. I cannot emphasize this one enough. I think when we're going through hard times, it's very easy to pull away, especially if you're somebody like me who's more introverted, loves to spend time alone. I think when things get hard, we can tend to want to withdraw even more and maybe isolate even more. And I have to catch myself and say, no, 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 Shannon. We need connection. Like, we need to allow ourselves to be present with people who feel grounding, with people who make us smile and make us laugh and bring a lightness. Like, we need that in times like this. So, I'm really doing my best to stay connected to the people who feel good for my nervous system. Like, even though I don't have a ton of motivation or even want to sometimes, I am still checking in, really pushing myself to make the call or send the text or go to the event. You know, the other day I had signed up for this vision boarding event and I was kind of in my head about it. And I was like, why are you going to do this? Like, you don't even really want to do this with everything that's going on. And the weather, we've just been getting so much snow and it's so freaking cold. And I was sort of giving my brain all the reasons not to do this thing, even though I signed up. Like, I wanted to do it. Like, this is something that I knew that would be fun and good for me. And so I was like, nope, we're not doing this. We're going and we can just play it by ear. And I went and it was so fun. And I connected with so many great women. And even though I didn't really even know any of these women, I literally didn't know any of them. It was at this Pilates studio. And it's the first time I've ever been there. But it was so nice just to connect with people, even other people I didn't even know. So, what I'm saying, right, is sometimes we have to push ourselves to follow through on the plans or the lunch dates, the coffee dates, going on walks with people that we love being in company with, because connection is one of the most regulating tools that we have, especially when fear and anxiety wants to isolate us. So I know that there's probably such a lack of motivation. I know that there's maybe more of that anticipatory anxiety going on and more just fear in general, saying, like, hey, no, like, let's just avoid and not do any of the things. You've got to push back on that and remind yourself connection is one of the most regulating, helpful tools. Okay. The next one, you probably knew this is going to be in here, but getting in nature, even briefly. I try my freaking hardest, even though if you live in New England or even other places right now, I know have been incredibly cold. Like, it is so freaking frigid, and we've gotten like over 2 feet of snow. I'm still pushing myself to get out into nature whenever I can because nature brings us back into our bodies. and into the present moment, which is incredibly grounding, which is what we need. I am not the biggest fan of like all these hacky grounding practices because I think the best way to ground yourself is to get in nature, like to have sun on your face, to breathe in the fresh air, to get yourself connected to something that is just so grounding. Like, I don't even know how else to put this. So, I won't harp on this, but really try. I know even if it's cold, even if you can only spend a couple minutes outdoors, it is so incredibly helpful when we're navigating really hard stuff. Okay, the next one. And I kind of struggled with how I was going to present this and talk about this because I know this one can feel really tricky when things feel really chaotic and things feel like they're on fire, quite honestly. I am still doing things that bring me joy. And this one really matters. Like, we have to allow ourselves to experience joy even in times of hardship, right? Even in times of uncertainty and chaos. So, I am intentionally doing things that bring me joy, knowing that it does help to alleviate a lot of the hard feelings. So, I am spending time with my daughter doing fun things. I'm spending time with family and friends, right? I am doing hobbies that I enjoy. I'm being creative. I am listening to podcasts I like. I am finding new shows to escape in. I don't know if anyone is a fan of traders. I honestly don't even know how I got myself stuck down this hole because I was like, it looks so ridiculous, so silly, but I'm in it. I am so in it. So I know it can feel strange or even wrong to do things that bring you joy when things feel so heavy. But joy doesn't mean you don't care. Joy doesn't mean that you're ignoring reality. Joy really helps to soften our nervous systems so that we can actually stay present and resilient and take action. So please allow yourself to continue to experience moments of joy, even if they are very small moments. We need them. We so, so need them. Okay, the next one. I'm historically really bad about this, but I have gotten a lot better, and it's such a daily practice for me. But I am setting boundaries without guilt. Like, I'm reminding myself I need boundaries. They're for me and they're good for me, and I don't need to justify them. So sometimes I am saying to people, I really don't have the capacity to talk about what's happening right now. And that's okay. I have learned it's really important to protect your nervous system. It's not selfish, it is care. It's how I care for myself. It's how I make sure that I can continue showing up for me, for my daughter, for the people that are so important to me in my life and my students. Like, there is no way I could show up and do the work that I do every day if I'm not setting boundaries and taking care of myself. So, saying I don't have the capacity to talk about what's happening right now is okay. That is an okay thing. And setting boundaries without that guilt in the mix is super helpful. Okay, I'll mention one more thing that's helpful, and then I want to talk to you a little bit more. So, another thing that's been really helpful for me is just bringing my attention back to my body in very simple ways. Like, if you're a student of mine, you know this. Like, I really don't do formal practices. I'm not like a meditator. I don't sit down and have these like routines that I do to keep myself grounded or in a good space or, you know, maybe at some point that's something that I should look at. I'm sure some of that could be helpful, but I'm not doing any formal practices. I'm really just allowing myself to slow down. And this is also something that I learned in my recovery that's so important. Like, you gotta allow yourself to slow down. Those pockets where you have time, just allowing yourself to take a couple of breaths, like notice your feet on the ground, do some light stretching, place your hand on your chest, right? Feel your heart beating. Like, these are things that can just help you to slow down, be in your body a little bit to where it doesn't feel so overwhelming, and just allow yourself to feel more grounded in the moment. I always tell my students anxiety lives in the future. Our bodies, our brains, we want them to live in the present. Okay. And this stuff helps them to live in the present. So this is another thing I'm very aware of, like on a daily basis when I get off of a podcast recording or I end a class or I'm finished working on something or I just take a break. Like I take a moment to slow down and do one of these things just to help ground myself a little bit more. Okay, so I want to leave you with this. And this is a really important message that I want you to hear. Please be deeply compassionate with yourself right now. There is no perfect way to handle this moment and everything that is going on. Like, do what you can with the capacity that you have. I will say I deeply appreciate all the posts and conversations on social media that direct people towards action, like helpful actions and ways that you can help right now. And that matters. Like that stuff is so freaking important. And we cannot be effective if we don't have the capacity for it. So I know you might be feeling pressure to act. And yes, like we have to act, right? But in order to act, we have to take care of ourselves first. We are most effective, most helpful when we are allowing ourselves to slow down, to give to ourselves, to connect with the people around us. Those things, all the things that I shared with you, are things that will help you to feel more equipped to take action. But I also have to say this, I know that the taking action part feels really overwhelming for a lot of people and feels really scary. And that's okay too. You're human, right? These are things that we have not experienced, right? We've not been up against. And the unknown of it, the uncertainty of it, it's all really scary. So have grace with yourself. We want to act, we want to take care of each other. And it's okay that the things that we're being asked of and the things that are necessary are hard and scary and uncomfortable. You're not alone in those feelings. Like I am with you very much in those feelings. Okay. I really hope this conversation has been helpful for you and has allowed you to take a breath and maybe not feel so overwhelmed and so anxious. But if you still feel really overwhelmed and anxious, please remember you don't need to fix your feelings. It's not a bad sign of anything. Your feelings make so much sense, and you are allowed to be human. So please, please, please take care of yourself and know that I am here and I will help you in any way I can. I hope you loved this episode of A Healthy Push. If you have, I'd be so grateful if you could leave me a rating and review wherever you're listening to this podcast. This helps people to find the show and get the support they need. And if you know someone who could use a little push, be sure to share this episode with them. And for even more support, head over to ahealthypush.com for show notes and loads of tips, tools, and inspiration to help you on your recovery journey. I'll see you next week.